Good afternoon, accounting students. Welcome to week 4. At the end of this week, you will have completed one half of the class. So give yourself a hand and thank you so much for sticking with me. Well, I'm going to share my screen. We are talking about merchandisers and inventory this week. So here is your week 4. Again, it's right over here. You click on week 4. This is tells you a little about your assignments. Sorry about that. Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, accounting for merchandising operations and inventories and costs of sales. You can read a little bit about the income statement and where cost of sales or cost of goods sold shows up on the income statement. And scroll on down and you'll see the two discussion questions we'll be talking about this week are something called FIFO and LIFO, first in, first out, last in, last out. Those are two inventory methods we'll be learning about. And then, of course, there are your McGraw-Hill Connect assignments. You have problems and a serial problem that I jokingly referred to as a serial killer this week because it is pretty hard. So if you have any difficulty with it, don't hesitate to shoot me an email and I'll throw you a lifeline. But there are some good examples in the book. So please follow along the book. And that is pretty much just a snapshot of where you need to be looking this week. Of course, go to your eText access and pull up your books. And I've got them bookmarked right here. Here's chapter 4. I wanted to highlight this particular graphic. It's exhibit 4.1. It shows the difference between a service company and a merchandiser because they're going to handle their expenses differently. And a service company is something like H&R Block. Right now, they're super busy, of course, because it's almost tax time. And they are busy collecting revenues from all their clients who are bringing in their taxes. And their expenses are predominantly their labor because that service is their business. So their financial statements are pretty simple. Merchandisers, on the other hand, are the people who buy and sell products. So they're just buying, like Walmart, Target. They buy a bunch of items and they turn around and sell them. So the question is, how do they calculate their cost of goods sold, which have to be matched with their sales? And then, of course, to determine a gross profit and then subtract all the rest of their expenses, like the labor of their employees as well. So, how do they calculate cost of goods sold? This is the number we're going to be focusing on this week because, as you all know, prices fluctuate. They go up, they go down, and they buy so many things at one time. And some were bought a long time ago when they were cheaper, and now they're more expensive. How do they assign those costs to those goods? That's what we're going to be learning. In chapter 5, we go on to talk about some of those inventory methods. And what I want to just point out a couple of things that are interesting. At the end of the beginning of each chapter, we feature a company. And I don't know if you recognize this guy. His name's Jeff Bezos, CEO and founder of Amazon, of course. And Amazon owns Whole Foods, and Whole Foods is they're big on inventory systems, and they have something called an analytics-based inventory tracking system that's quite state of the art. So they were featuring them. The reason I'm pointing this out is because when I'm asking you to give me real world examples in our discussions, I want to hear about real companies, Amazon's, Tesla's, anybody you can think of, even your own company that you might work for, and tell us how they're doing it. How are they doing inventory? How are they doing cost of sales? Things like that. So please find real articles. Don't just give me a general company. I want the name of that company and their story because that's what's interesting. And let's talk about those in discussions. It makes it so much more fun to read. And I wish we could talk in a room, but not possible. Okay, so again, those are the two chapters you'll be discussing, reading about, chapters 4 and 5. You have your assignments. So I say, oh, one other thing, there is one thing I want to show you. For those of you who don't have an accounting background, don't really know much about inventory systems, might want to dig a little deeper. I always tell you to go over here, right below all the discussions is that in the week assignments is additional resources. So if you click on that, you will find a bunch of videos and they give you different topics. And if you scroll down a little bit, there's one this week called Financial the inventory methods, FIFO, LIFO, weighted average specific identification. Those are four methods that we'll be mentioning. And of course, going a little deeper onto FIFO, LIFO. Please watch those. They can be a little dry. So if I find a better one on the internet, there are a couple of guys I really like to subscribe to that are a little more interesting and a little easier and a little less dry. So I'll share those with you as well. But at least start with that to get some of the nuts and bolt basics out of the way. That's it. So I'm just going to say, have a great week of learning something new, and I'll see you in discussion.